So American Outlaw did a video, active shooting event. My daughter was in an active shooting situation. I watched this video, and this is every parent's nightmare. So we're going to talk about that real quick. Essentially what happened in his video is he got a phone call from his daughter that was in a cheerleading competition, and she was like, "There's an active shooter, I need help." And it was 45 minutes away. And this guy goes through what happened. He says he almost grabbed a rifle, but he didn't grab a rifle, which thank goodness. It's part of the reason why I have this out right here, because you probably shouldn't grab a rifle. You're going to want something that's not going to get you shot by the police. So we're going to talk about that. I've already prepped for this scenario a little bit. I think that everybody that carries a pistol, this is something that you need to do some brainstorming on, because we are the first line of defense when it comes to active shooters, right? There's always a good guy with a gun somewhere. You might be that guy. You might be the closest guy, and you might have to stop somebody before the cops can get there. You could save a bunch of lives. And even if you don't stop the active shooter, you can buy time for people to run away. You can pin a shooter behind cover and wait for the cops to get there. There's so many different things that you can do to save lives. Also, if you do take a shooter out, you need to be prepared to administer first aid to potential victims, and there could be a lot of them. So we're going to talk about that. So I have a lot of these bags. I have one of these bags for a lot of my pistols. Now, it's an awesome little range bag, right? I can fit a pistol in here. I can fit ammo, some accessories, whatever. They even have like a quick draw pocket, right? These are awesome for the range. And I have a bag back here that's different. This is my active shooter bag. This is it. This is like the counter bag. It's a different bag from these, so I can tell it apart. Same premise. It has one of these, right? I would wear this bag on my chest. Well, we might as well talk about this bag, because here it is. I'd wear this bag on my chest. It has one strap. This part comes off the strap. I can loop it around my back, and I can clip it in right here. So this bag secures on my chest like very well. This thing isn't going anywhere, especially if I'm running. You can tell that this bag is much bigger, right? It stands out. I'm going to know exactly which bag I want to grab. I'm going to have a pistol in here. We're going to talk about that, because in American Outlaw's video, he talked about how when he got to the scene, he looked around and there was like a 30-yard shot, there was a 50-yard shot, there was like a 110-yard shot, and he didn't know where this active shooter was going to pop out at. That's something that everybody needs to think about, because let's talk about our actual carry pistols for a second. Here's mine, right? VP9SK, amazing gun, great pistol. Essentially, though, this is a get-off-me gun, okay? And this is what most people carry, like a 3¼ inch barrel gun. You're going to run into major issues trying to use a gun like this to actually fight off an active shooter. Active shooters have time to plan things out. One of them might even have some kind of body armor on. They're probably going to be further away from you than 30 yards. These self-defense guns are made for close range, and American Outlaw was carrying a Glock. That's what he ended up with, was his carry gun. So in his video, he takes his carry gun out to the range, and he sets up some targets. One was like 30 yards, 40 yards, 50 yards, 60, and he tries hitting them. So at 60 yards, he wasn't hitting shit. At 50, he didn't hit anything. 40 yards, I think he scored 2 hits out of his 12-round magazine. And I believe 30 yards and in, he was hitting, right? This is also a stationary man-sized target. And the guy's a good shooter. He's got videos of him shooting like with other shooters that are good shooters. He knows how good of a shooter he is. and he's not hitting at 40 yards. So think about that. And this is a stationary target, right? A lot of that has to do with the pistols that we carry, right? This is a 3-inch barrel. Like how much stabilization of your round do you think you're gonna get when your bullet's going from here to here and it's getting stabilized and spun along the way, and then it's out of there? You're not gonna get that much control. The majority of sidearms that are carried on your hip that are 3-inch barrels, they're not going to reach out that far, and this is what most people carry on them. This is why I have a dedicated bag with a different pistol in it that can actually reach out. Now, I also have this thing. This is a AR pistol, right? This is actually a proof of concept right now. It's a survival pistol. Either way, this would be great. This would be great. 120 yards, no problem, all day. The problem is the cops would probably identify you as a shooter. The cops would take one look at you and be like, that's him, and you might get shot. So the same reason why you don't show up with a rifle. That would be, obviously, if you had to engage with an active shooter, yes, you would love to have a rifle, but then you're going to look like an active shooter yourself. And this is part of the reason why I have this bag, because I can draw from this bag, shoot, and then I can drop the pistol in the bag and get my hands away from it, and I can look around and make sure there's no cop turning a corner looking at me thinking, is that the shooter? Okay? The other thing is, too, if there's police officers around and you're trying to find your family members, good luck. Just good luck getting in there if you're carrying a pistol. Like, we have CPLs for a reason. You keep the guns concealed until you are ready to use them, because you don't want to create a panic with all the people around. Because a lot of people in that situation, they're not even going to know who the shooter is. They heard bullets, they saw people running, they start running too. They see you with a gun, they're going to think either that's the shooter, or maybe there's a second shooter. Maybe they're working as a team. That's the last thing you want. You want to stay away from that scenario completely. So what do we want to do? We want to have a pistol on us that is probably better than something like this, that we can draw, shoot, and put away extremely fast. So I think this is why the bag comes in handy. You don't have to reholster anything. You just drop your gun right back into the bag and it's gone, right? So what gun would you use for something like this? This is too much. I mean, honestly, if I had a poncho, I could cover this, but then you got to pull this thing out. I mean, you could put a folding stock on something like this. You could try to make it more compact, obviously put a red dot on it, but this is still so much bigger than a standard pistol, and you'd have to unfold it, drop a mag in it, it's just too much. You're not going to be able to react quick enough. You're going to have to set something like this up, right? Here's my answer. Here's my solution. This is it. This is it. And this is a specialty pistol. This is a VP9 match pistol from H&K. And I was going to do another video about it because this is the only match pistol that I would actually carry, because it's not a full match pistol. This does have like a duty trigger on it. I really like this thing. 20 round magazines. That's another important factor here too. American Outlaw ended up with a 12 round magazine pistol on his side going into this, right? That is incredibly scary, because you are probably going to be outgunned. A 12 round magazine is great for a get off me gun. Like 12 rounds in this means that nobody's going to be able to get in my personal space. Nobody's going to be able to stop me from leaving. But that's not what we're talking about here. We're talking about a medium, potentially long range opponent to deal with, right? Mass shooters probably aren't going to get that close to you, So I think this is a great answer to all of this. This can be concealed. It's got 20 round mags, right? This bag has I think 3 other magazines in it, and I had another VP9 out here. Another cool thing about this for me, this is obviously my concealed carry. If something happens to this VP9 match, at least I can use the 20 round magazines in my side carry pistol, right? I can draw this and put 20 round mags in it. So that's just a small bonus of having this, because this is technically the same system as my actual carry pistol, right? So for me, this is it. Leave me a comment, let me know what yours would be. But let's talk about what makes this a good choice. So first of all, forget the 3-inch barrel. This is like a 5.5, 6-inch barrel. That's a lot more barrel to stabilize your round. This is a much more accurate gun. It actually has a rubber bushing in here to make sure that the barrel fits into the slide and you get repeatability. All in all, it's a great target pistol. You're going to be able to reach out further. You're going to get a little bit more velocity because of the longer barrel. Really, it's about the control. It's about being able to shoot further and hit your target, and having 20 rounds to do that with. And when it's all said and done, this gun can disappear instantly, right? It's pretty easy to just drop that into a bag, get your hands off of it, right? As long as you don't have a gun in your hands, even if the cops come out, they're going to talk to you instead of just shooting you, right? So I think this is important. And if you don't have this, obviously, find a gun with a long barrel that you feel confident with, shooting out past 35 yards. Get a couple magazines for it, right? And that's just a starting point, right? What else do we need in the bag? Well, tourniquets. And you're going to want to keep a couple tourniquets for yourself. Now, in a mass shooter event, you could potentially run into quite a few people that unfortunately have been shot. So grab a bunch of shoelaces. If you can't afford to stock up and spend, $800 on tourniquets, that's my best advice. Anything that you can bring with you to stop people from bleeding out, it's probably a good idea to have. And again, I say shoelaces, right? I have a bunch of shoelaces here. I can cut them in half depending on how many people there are. And, these are just a temporary fix to stop some blood flow until the cops can show up and the medics can show up with real tourniquets. Another thing is reactive tourniquets. These big rubber bands that I keep on pretty much all of my pistols. I keep them on my scopes. A big reason for this is that if I'm actually engaging an active shooter and I can get some cover, if I get winged, if I get shot in the arm again or something like that, I can whip one of these out and I can apply one of these in the middle of a gunfight, especially if I have a little bit of cover to work with. Is this a tourniquet? No. Is it as good as a tourniquet? No. But this will stop you from free bleeding, and this will let you finish your shootout, and it will stop the bleeding while you get a tourniquet. It will at least slow the bleeding down. Free bleeding is the worst thing. And unfortunately, if you get shot and you're having a shootout, you are kind of stuck bleeding out until the threat is neutralized. So this gives me something that I can use to quickly put on my arm and slow that bleeding down until I can get through it and get an actual tourniquet, right? So things like this, I think, are just a good idea. These also just work very well on my grips. They fill the grip out a little bit, and they give me a good squeeze on the pistol. I really like these things. There's a company that sells them online. They are some kind of cleaning company. Amazon will sell these, but they're like $10 a piece. I found a company that sells them in a bag of 5, and as you can see, I have them on a lot of my pistols. I keep at least one, because you never know. You might get winged, and you might have to use something like this to slow your bleeding down until you can actually get help, right? Another thing that I would personally want in my bag, and it's part of the reason why this is a larger bag, is this flashlight right here. This one's mounted to this Mark 18 because I was trying to get a round count on it to make sure that this thing doesn't flicker. It's not going to have any issues with the recoil of a gun. And what this is an LEP laser. This actually blinds people. 1,800 yards is the throw on this. So from 1,800 yards away, I can legitimately blind people with this. This is a class 1 laser. And if I'm going into any shootout, I want one of these. I want one of these no matter what. They are so good. You could also use this to help signal police, a helicopter if you wanted to, right? So I make sure that I have a bag large enough for one of these flashlights. I'm definitely going to be picking up another one. Not a lot of people know about these, right? But it's definitely in my essential kit for dealing with an active shooter. It's going to be really hard to shoot back at me if you're blind. So I really like these, along with this pistol in this bag, tourniquets, reactive tourniquets, and I think I'm good to go. Obviously, on my way into a situation like that, I'm going to put on a 3A ballistic lined Carhartt jacket. I have a duffel bag that has a plate carrier in it, but then again, you don't want to be looking like the feds. You show up in body armor like that, the cops might start talking to you, and then you're taking those police away from the actual threat, and they're slowing you down. In this scenario, you're trying to get to your family members and get them out of there. So leave me a comment, let me know what your thoughts are on it, but that's pretty much what I'll be rocking, is a 3A ballistic line Carhartt. Mine's upstairs. I didn't feel like dragging it all the way down for this video, but it just looks like a normal Carhartt coat. I think actually putting on a bulletproof vest is a little bit too obvious. It's going to turn too many heads. I don't know. If you disagree, leave me a comment. Now, I would still probably drag that duffel bag with my armor system into the car. It all depends, right? Because if my old lady is here and we leave together, she's going to be driving while I'm checking all my gear, probably putting armor on, armor that actually fits in, that just looks like a jacket. And then I'm going to be looking at maps. I'm going to be trying to find the best way there. Hopefully I can get in contact with my family member and give them instructions on what to do. Don't stay in any crowds. Keep running. Keep moving. Check out American Outlaw's video. Very scary situation, and it's crazy. Like, he had to run red lights, and I would too, right? I mean, you're scared. You got to get your family member out of there. Yeah, it is every dad's worst nightmare. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed. This is my active shooter counter bag, and you should probably have something like this, or you should at least brainstorm what you're going to do in a situation like this, and maybe get some gear and stuff together just in case a nightmare like this ever unfolds. This is also like an easy bag to keep in the car, to keep hidden, stashed in the car, so you can get to it quickly. It might just save a bunch of people. Either way, even if you're not going to put a kit like this together, you still need to brainstorm and think about what you would do in this situation, because unfortunately, this is a reality. These things happen and people have to deal with this. And like I said earlier, if you carry a pistol or a sidearm, you are the first line of defense to active shooters. So definitely think about it, brainstorm it a little bit, and think about the tactics that you are going to use, how you're going to go about searching an area for your family members. Stay near cover, right? It all sounds like very obvious stuff, but it's obvious because I've thought about it before, right? There's going to be people out there that just really haven't thought about it at all. Oh, if that happens, I'm just going to react. You might want to do some brainstorming so that you can get the best reaction possible, is all I'm saying. And hopefully none of us ever actually have to encounter an active shooter. Hope you enjoyed. I will see you on the next one. Have an awesome day, everybody.